Hi, I'm Triangle. In this video, I'll be showing you a bare minimum tutorial for making a basic 4D miner mod. Some of the topics will be covered in much more detail in other videos, but if you know some C++, there's a good chance you will be ready to start making your own 4D miner mod by the time you finish watching this video. Everything you will need for this tutorial will be linked in the description. To write your own mod, you need to have at least some knowledge of C++ and how video games work. You also need Visual Studio 2022 to actually compile your mod, or you can use the GitHub Actions workflow, which I will briefly cover later in this video. The first step for making a mod is to create a project from the 4D mod example template on GitHub. If you have a GitHub account, you can easily do this by clicking the button Use this template on the GitHub page for the 4D mod example. If you're using GitHub to host your project, every time you make a commit, a GitHub action will automatically be performed, which will attempt to compile the mod into a DLL file. You can access the compiled DLL file by clicking the Actions tab, clicking on the latest action, and then scrolling down to the Artifacts section, which should have your DLL file if the mod was successfully compiled. Just be sure not to wait too long before downloading the DLL file, because GitHub will eventually delete it automatically. If you want more control over compiling your own mod, or you want to be able to build it more quickly, you can clone the repository and open it in Visual Studio 2022. The easiest way to do this is to open Visual Studio, click Clone Repository, and then paste in the URL for the project on GitHub and specify the path. If you clone the repository through the command line, you'll need to either clone it with the recursive option or enter the command git submodule update init recursive remote after cloning. This will ensure that the submodules are installed, which are needed to compile the mod. For this tutorial, we will be making a /kill command that then can be entered into the chat in order to kill the player in single player. Mods are made by creating what are called hooks, which can be used to override the behavior of any given function in the base game. Since we want to make a /kill command, we need to override the behavior of one of the game's chat functions. The function that handles adding chat messages to the screen is different depending on what version of the game you're modding. In versions before the water update, the function is a member of the state game class, but in newer versions, it's a member of the player client class. In this video, we will be modding a version of the game before the water update, so we will be overriding the behavior of the state game add chat message function. Hooks can be created using the hook macro. Hooks can only be created in C++ files, not header files. Here I'm creating a hook for the add chat message function. The first thing we'll want to do is check if the message string matches the /kill command. We will write a simple if statement that makes the comparison, and if the string matches, all we have to do is set player's health to something less than or equal to 0. Finally, if the string doesn't match, we can call the original function to allow the game to properly handle the chat message like it normally would. Now, all you have to do is build the DLL file and then package the mod into a folder with an info.json5 file and optionally an icon.png file. A template for the info.json5 file can be found in the 4D mod example project on GitHub. Be sure to update it with the correct info for your mod. Finally, you have the option to add an icon for your mod, which can be seen by anyone who loads your mod into the game. The icon must be named icon.png and should preferably be 72 by 72 pixels. After creating a folder containing the DLL, the info.json5 file, and optionally the icon.png file, you are almost ready to try running your mod in the game. Copy the folder you just created into the mod folder in your 4D miner directory, and then open the game and see if the mod works. You can check if there were any errors loading the mod by clicking the mods button in the top left corner of the game window. Now let's make a word and check if the command works. And that's it. If you've been able to follow this tutorial all the way through, you've just created your first 4D Miner mod. If you want to package your mod to share it with others, right click on the folder for your mod and create a zip file from it. The 4D modding Discord server is the best place to distribute mods at the moment, but be sure to follow the post guidelines in the mods channel before sharing your mod there. Thanks for watching this tutorial on making 4D Miner mods. If you want to learn more about modding 4D Miner, there are plenty of resources on GitHub, the 4D modding Discord, and in the future there will likely be several other useful and more specific tutorials on this YouTube channel. Be sure to check all the links in the description.